Good news is the Flames will be resting for this upcoming break, already soaking up the sunshine. Bad news is they are going on into this break on the heels of two horrendous, unsettling back-to-back losses.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Today, I thought we would take some time to talk about the loss against the Kraken and the culmination of recent events in terms of bad habits stacking up, and what is it going to take? If you look at this team and this roster, what is it going to take for these guys to take it to the next level? Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And let's dive right into it. What a demoralizing loss. That is the only way that I can look at this. Actually, the only way it would have been worse is if the Kraken had won it in regulation. Obviously they walk away with a point thanks to overtime, but it was just bad. And I thought it was great the first two periods were fine. The Kraken aren't the most competitive team, but they also, they still have it. And I was happy that this is how they were responding to that loss against the Avalanche. Now, you have a fine first two periods. They score. There's really not much you can ask for more there. Obviously, another goal would have been nice, but Dustin Wolf is playing great. The defense is what it is. That they're showing up, and the forward groups are doing what they can. And it was great to see Morgan Frost score. That's huge, and I think that kind of put energy into things, into the game, into the Flames game. But it was just a horrific third period, and we'll go over that in a second. But I do want to just talk about, the bones of this game. This was actually their first loss of the season after leading by 2, after going up 2-0, which is impressive, considering how long, where we are at in the season and the creative ways the Flames find ways to lose games every week. But that is pretty impressive. I think, not reaching that until February, pretty decent. But Dustin Wolf, okay, we know that this is his first season, rookie NHL baby. He's still a child breaking into this league, and he has that extensive resume, the impressive resume, that pedigree that people salivate over. And I mean, you hear other opposing teams or broadcasts talking about Wolf, and yes, I would be very jealous if he wasn't on my team either. He has never had this type of workload at this level. It was fairly obvious that the Flames were breaking him in, and he was tired. I don't have an issue with the Flames doing that. You aren't going to be coddled your entire NHL career. You have statistically played better at home, and the Flames need as many points as they can get, so we'll take you over Dan Vladar, especially with the weakened defense. However, the Flames broke Jacob Markstrom. I don't think we want to break Dustin Wolf. I don't think that that's any, I don't think that that's happening or what we've seen, but I don't think there's a need to just push him. I'm very curious how this upcoming road trip works out for the team and what they kind of do there, because this is a long 6-game road trip that it is make or break time for the Flames. And I'm sure everyone will benefit from the rest and the break, which is nice. So fingers crossed that, Wolf comes back rejuvenated and ready to go. The penalty kill was solid, 1 for 4. 3 for 4. They allowed one power play goal. It is what it is. Mikael Backlund leading the team in ice time is unacceptable. He's 36 years old. He is not your best player. He should not be leading ice time. I don't understand Huska's plan or approach to things sometimes. And sometimes, sometimes you just have to let the coach cook. But the way that Huska has been matching lineups and using players has kind of confused me. And it's leading to mistakes, which add up. And we're going to talk about things adding up here in a little bit. But what is the reason for using Mikael Backlund for 20 minutes a night? I don't see it. I don't understand the vision. He's not a game breaker. He's a good player, but there's better players that you could be using. Flames just crumbled in the third period. They fell apart. It is ridiculous, and I will blame myself for this. I was sitting in bed watching the game, enjoying myself, and I thought to myself, Dustin Wolf might earn himself a shutout tonight. It was late enough in the third period where I thought I could think that. No, not even 30 seconds later, the Kraken score, and then they score again. And I think to myself, well, this is bad. And while that was bad, Jonathan Huberdeau's bad turnover in the third period was a lot worse. And we're going to talk about the ramifications of all these little bad things stacking up and adding up, and ultimately what it costs you, coming up here next on Locked On Flames. When the games tip off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. My favorite thing about the FanDuel app is just how easy it is to navigate and how quickly you can add and withdraw your funds. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. With this season, with any season, comes, wins, losses, missing the playoffs, making the playoffs. I think we also have to talk about, the little recipes you get to get there. And I am very opinionated when it comes to this, adamant about how these small things add up over the period of a season, halfway, a little bit more than halfway through the season, and really what happens next. Because the Flames are going to be coming back from this Four Nations Faceoff tournament with a big road trip. They have a big road trip out east, and we know that heading out east is like a different beast, and this team does play fairly well on the road, but I am a little concerned because of the length of this road trip and just where it happens to fall. But right now, they're going into this on back-to-back losses. Very tough losses. These losses were absolutely demoralizing. They let air out of the tires. It was just like you didn't even take your foot off the gas all the way and you were already slammed on the brake. Like it just kind of stops you in your tracks when you're looking at this season because, had the Flames come away with 4 points there or even 3, or even 2, I would be fine with anything more than 1. You're going into this with a very likely a different mindset because you know that this team can overcome adversity and like there's that positive momentum behind them. But these mistakes that they have been making throughout the season have just added up and snowballed into this. And bad habits are hard to break. Some of them you can coach out of players, other ones not so much. And sometimes they are just accidents and part of the game that just let the other team take control. And it's frustrating. And you have to be able to navigate your game, your players' chemistry with each other and their level of discipline to work through this. And I think, earlier this year, we talked so much about Pospisil's untimely penalties and just how inconvenient they would be. And I believe it was the game against Vegas where he took that penalty late in the third and ultimately cost the Flames the game. And we're seeing that. We are starting to see it again. And, penalties happen. That is the name of the game. That is why they are part of the game. However, when you are taking an undisciplined, unnecessary penalty, that's when I start looking at you. A little I don't want to say looking at you sideways, but that's when I questioned your level of commitment, your skill, your contributions to this team because, if you're not scoring offensively and you're not really putting up assists or anything, making plays, driving the net, doing anything, but you're constantly taking bad penalties, I am going to put you in the negative side of things. You aren't doing enough to balance the good with the bad, and you aren't doing enough good to outweigh the bad. And I think Pospisil has kind of fallen on that line for me in terms of the bad isn't outweighing the good. He has taken those costly penalties. He has had some dangerous hits, or he isn't finishing plays. He isn't driving the net. He's not doing enough, in my opinion, to deserve extra positive praise. He's fast, great. But when you are constantly in and out, frequent flyer to the penalty box, and you're not doing much else, sorry, to me, you're not a middle six player, a top six player. You're a bottom six player, more than likely a fourth liner. And it's not just him. It is not just him. We have seen Jonathan Huberdeau with his turnovers, and the game against the Kraken, obviously one of them, but they've happened time and time again. I believe against Nashville, it was bad. The Leafs, it's a reoccurring situation, and either you aren't. To me, this is the opposite of Pospisil, because Huberdeau is scoring. He has a 20-plus goal season with the Flames. And yes, he does find himself turning over the puck occasionally, or when it does happen, sometimes it's Wolf bailing him out, or sometimes they do score. But he is making up for it. And I think, there is that balance there. And I think every player knows that they need to be better at something. And Jonathan Huberdeau, for me, has really stepped up. But how many bad turnovers are you going to have that essentially cost you a game, right? Especially if it's a 1-goal game, or it's the go-ahead goal late in the third period. It's not necessarily like a turnover that happens in the third period and calls game. It could be one turnover that happened 6 minutes into the first period. It's just a snowball effect here, and with the Flames' lack of offense, which we're going to talk about next, they have to play better. They have to be smarter. They have to play a more careful and mindful game. And coming up next, we're going to talk about what it takes. What has to change with this current roster if they want to make the playoffs, and not just make the playoffs, but make it out of the first round. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and will help you reach the right candidate faster. Now, you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Thanks everyone for making Locked On Flames part of your day. I greatly appreciate it. And make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. So let's say the Flames are all in. We are approaching this second stretch of the season with the idea that this team is making the playoffs. We're not going to be looking at any hypothetical adds or subtractions or anything like that. This lineup, the one that we have seen, what is it going to take? What do they need to do to prove that they can compete and they can hang with the big dogs? Well, number one is Mikael Backlund cannot be your leader in time on ice. I talked about this earlier, but there has to be a line. There has to be some sort of standard or threshold for I don't want to say favoritism, because I don't think that that's right. But you can't roll out players that aren't having impactful performances when you need impactful performances. And I understand you are missing Connor Zary. You are missing that speed, that offensive power, and just him in general, that net front presence. You just acquired Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. They probably should not be leading your time on ice either. However, both of them have come in and started off pretty hot. They've both scored goals. They have multiple assists, and they are building chemistry. However, this is where I scratch my head. This is where I look at Ryan Huska and say, are you sure your work is why you are in the Jack Adams conversation, or is it your goaltender? Because Huska has been doing this thing where he shuffles the lines. He will throw them in a blender and he'll put odd combinations together. I do not know why Matt Coronado was with Backlund and Coleman for as long as he was. He deserved a shot at that top line before Saturday's game. To me, that experiment lasted too long. Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost on the same line is something that a lot of people have also questioned. Pospisil definitely earned a spot on that fourth line. People have been questioning why Kevin Rooney is on the team. Not to be devil's advocate here, but he is a solid penalty killer. Every player brings something, right? But you have to allow them a chunk of time to play together, to figure out if the chemistry is there, what might need to change. Like, you could have a fantastic line with Huberdeau, Kadri, and Coronado, but if Huska doesn't give Coronado another chance to prove that he can play on that spot and just throw Pospisil or Joel Farabee back up there, what are we doing? You know, the whole point is to integrate these younger players, and Matt Coronado has earned his spot. He has a great shot, and I really think that putting him on that top line would only amplify that. Connor Zary, you're hoping comes back and is good to go. Obviously, we know they're not rushing him back. He has just started skating, but you are hoping that he comes back and is playing center and is ready to take this team's offense to that next level, or not even to the next level, but to consistent. I think, we can't necessarily shoot for the stars right now. We just have to take those baby steps, and getting consistent scoring out of Connor Zary would be nice, or, whatever line he's playing on would be very nice. I was looking at the advanced stats on NHL Edge, and the Flames are below 50th percentile on things like speed, zone time, and shot speed. There is a lot of room for this team to improve. I would really like to see more of, what we had seen earlier this season, where they are capable of pulling off wins. I think of the game in Montreal where they came back and had that nice overtime winner from who other but Matt Coronado. The Flames have to get better. If this is the roster they are rolling with to say we're making the playoffs, your defense has to get it together. Rasmus Andersson specifically. We know that he can score, and it feels like he's lost his confidence because he isn't shooting the way he was. And I really need to see Kevin Paul back in this lineup. I don't want to see Miramonov on the top pairing. I don't want to see Tyson Barrie on the ice. I do not want to see Jake Bean as an NHL regular. Who else? Joel Hanley, Tyson Barrie, Miramonov, and honestly, I would be fine if they called up Hunter Brustewich. They've called up Solo. Let him do his thing, but I really feel like Brustewich would be a nice add to this as well, because I think that he could probably do more than, your current 6th and 7th defenseman, so why not? I mean, anything's possible. We know this, and that's not necessarily the way you want to approach constructing a hockey team, especially one in a transitional period. But at the same time, you have to be willing to try new things and to get everyone going. And I need to see more from the Flames defense. But that'll do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic day. And thanks for listening, whether you're at home, at school, on your way to work, at the gym, wherever you might be. Thank you for making Locked On Flames part of your day. And make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And over the next few days, we are going to be doing a little evaluation and ranking of the Flames forwards, defensive groupings, and of course the goaltenders. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.